When you finish testing, you're ready for the final part of Step 10, communicating your results back to the disciplines and the wider world. This is where everything you've worked on, your insights, your integration, and your testing comes together into a final product you can share. But this isn't just about turning in a paper. It's about ensuring your understanding is clear, coherent, and meaningful to your intended audience. To do that, your work should demonstrate 3 key qualities. First, unity. All the pieces of your understanding should feel like they belong together. Each theory, method, or concept you used should contribute to the final explanation without overpowering the others. Your work should also demonstrate coherence. Your ideas should flow logically. The reasoning behind your integration should be easy to follow, and your conclusions should feel like a natural outcome of your research process. And third, balance. No single discipline or viewpoint should dominate. Instead, your work should reflect a thoughtful and fair use of each perspective you've drawn on. One way to test whether you've achieved unity, coherence, and balance is to translate your integrated understanding into something accessible, like a metaphor, model, or narrative. These tools help communicate complex ideas in ways that are easier to grasp and more compelling. For example, a model can help visualize how different disciplines interact. A metaphor might capture the essence of your integration. A story or anecdote could illustrate your conclusion in a memorable human way. Your final product could take many forms: a research paper, a policy proposal, a presentation, an infographic, or even a podcast. What matters most is that it makes your insight real and relevant to others. Remember, integration is only powerful if it's shared. So as you wrap up your interdisciplinary project, ask yourself these questions. Is my work unified and balanced? Have I made my insights understandable and engaging? Will this reach the people who need to hear it? If the answers are yes, then you've not only completed Step 10, you've fulfilled the purpose of interdisciplinary research. As we wrap up Step 10, let's take a closer look at one of the most powerful tools for communicating interdisciplinary understanding: metaphors. A metaphor can do more than just clarify an idea. It can capture the essence of your integration. It allows you to express complexity in a way that resonates with your audience. A powerful example is Maya Lin's design of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. She envisioned it as a scar in the earth, symbolizing both trauma and healing. While the metaphor doesn't fully explain the war, it frames the emotional landscape in a way that blends history, memory, and grief. It's interdisciplinary, whether we name it that or not. In your own work, a well-chosen metaphor can serve as an integrative device, a way to bring together disciplinary insights and expose patterns that might otherwise stay hidden. According to Repko and Sostak, an effective metaphor should reflect 3 consistencies. 1. The disciplinary insights you've used and modified to create common ground. 2. The interdisciplinary linkages you've built and how the parts connect. And 3. The patterns or dynamics of the broader system you're explaining. Metaphors are especially useful when your project deals with ambiguity or unresolved tensions. Unlike a list or a diagram, a metaphor holds space for both clarity and complexity at the same time. It helps you say, "This is how it works and how it feels." There are different types of metaphors. You might choose to use a visual metaphor, like a bridge or a mosaic, or a narrative metaphor, like a journey, ecosystem, or symphony, or a physical representation, an art piece, object, or design that embodies your findings. In interdisciplinary research, metaphors do more than explain, they reveal. They let your audience grasp the integration intuitively and emotionally. So if your final understanding still feels abstract or fragmented, try asking yourself, what does this remind me of? What does it look or feel like in another context? What symbol could capture the tension, unity, or change I've uncovered? That symbol might be the most compelling way to express your interdisciplinary insight. Another excellent way to express your interdisciplinary understanding is by creating a model, a structured representation that visually or physically captures your thinking. A model is more than just a diagram. It's a tangible expression of how your integration works. It could be a visual diagram or flowchart, a physical object, a performance or creative artifact, or even a written framework that serves as a guide for others. The strength of a model is that it makes your thought process visible and shareable. It helps your audience understand how you move from complex disciplinary insights to a unified explanation. For example, consider Nagi's model of sustainable development in Costa Rica. It visually balanced environmental, cultural, and economic dimensions. By doing this, it helps stakeholders see how these different priorities interact and how they can be addressed together in practice. A strong model often reflects three key features, including unity, by showing how different insights fit together in one system, coherence, by clarifying relationships between ideas, and balance, by ensuring no one disciplinary viewpoint dominates or overshadows the others. Models also serve as teaching tools. When well designed, they allow others to follow your logic, replicate your structure, or apply your ideas to new problems. You don't have to be an artist or designer to create a good model. Whether it's a chart, a metaphorical map, or a conceptual framework, the goal is to give form to your understanding so others can interact with it. If you're struggling with how to present your final integration, ask yourself these questions. What structure would help others grasp the key relationships I discovered? How can I represent the movement, tension, or balance between ideas? Could a simple sketch or diagram clarify what words can't fully explain? So just remember that a thoughtful model can turn a complex idea into something concrete and memorable. Our integrative device is one of the most familiar and the most powerful, the narrative. Humans are wired for stories. We understand the world through beginnings, middles, and ends. So when you're presenting your interdisciplinary understanding, a narrative can help your audience follow your thought process and care about it. A narrative can take many forms. A short vignette that illustrates a key insight, a longer account of your research journey, or a real-world story that shows how your solution could play out in action. What makes narrative so effective is that it blends emotion and logic. It not only explains your integrated insight, it convinces others of its relevance and usefulness. Take J. Lewis' work on public education, for example. Instead of just analyzing policies, he told the stories of students, teachers, and families navigating systemic barriers. That narrative brought abstract data to life and made his argument personal and persuasive. In your own work, narratives can show how different disciplinary insights came together, how the complexity of the problem affected real people, or how your own perspective evolved during the process. To help you craft a narrative, ask yourself, what story best conveys the value of this integration? Who is affected by the issue, and what is their lived experience? How did my journey of discovery change the way I think about the problem? And remember, the purpose of a narrative isn't just to explain your results. It's to persuade your reader or listener that your understanding has meaning, and maybe even the power to change something. Whether short or long, formal or informal, narratives help turn academic insight into something relatable, memorable, and most importantly, usable. Sometimes an interdisciplinary project doesn't just lead to a new understanding, it leads to a new process. This means creating a repeatable, practical approach that others can use to solve real-world problems. For example, Delft's proposal to combine forensic psychology with forensic science in homicide investigations shows how interdisciplinary thinking can lead to a method that practitioners can apply immediately. A new process is a way of translating your understanding into action. It's not just theoretical. It's useful in clearly defined situations and often aimed at specific audiences, like professionals or policymakers. Think of it as a tool. It simplifies complexity and provides a practical path forward. Processes may offer new ways of solving recurring challenges or introduce innovative analytical frameworks that lead to fresh insights. So when your project results in a new process, it's a sign that your research has moved beyond explanation to real-world application. Your final product might take many forms: a tool, a performance, a work of art, or even a digital platform. What matters is that it reflects your integrated understanding and communicates it in a way that's useful and accessible to others. Interdisciplinary products aren't just about ideas, they're about action. Whether it's a sculpture that conveys emotional insight or an app that solves a common problem, the end result should be immediately useful, grounded in disciplinary knowledge, and clearly shaped by the integration process. Artistic formats, in particular, can capture meaning that's hard to express in words, things like emotions, intuitions, and lived experience. Whatever form your work takes, it should demonstrate that your thinking was interdisciplinary from beginning to end. Another powerful form of interdisciplinary understanding is a critique. You can use your integrated insight to analyze an existing policy and reveal how it's falling short, often because it was shaped by a narrow disciplinary lens. Sostak's critique of one-size-fits-all economic growth models shows how such limited thinking can miss critical social or environmental concerns. But a critique isn't just about pointing out flaws. It can also lead to better solutions. By drawing on multiple perspectives, you can propose a new policy, plan, or framework that's more inclusive and more likely to meet the complex needs of real-world problems. Some of your most meaningful contribution is not an answer, but a question. Because interdisciplinary research happens at the edges of disciplines, it's uniquely positioned to identify gaps in existing knowledge. These gaps often inspire new lines of inquiry or fresh research questions. Scholarly research is a conversation. Your job is to build on what others have done and invite them to build on your work in return. In fact, a study that claims to answer everything might gain little traction because it leaves no room for the next step. A truly valuable contribution is one that advances understanding while opening new doors for others to explore. A key part of interdisciplinary work is communicating your insights back to the disciplines. This isn't just about courtesy, it's about impact. When you publish in disciplinary journals, use their terminology, and connect your insights to the kinds of questions they care about, you help disciplines grow. You show how interdisciplinary thinking can enhance their understanding of complex problems and encourage greater openness and flexibility. There are 5 key indicators that your communication is adding value. 1. It highlights the benefits of integrating disciplinary insights to produce new understanding. 2. It supports theoretical and methodological flexibility. 3. It acknowledges that each theory has limits and specific contexts where it applies. 4. It encourages integrating a wide range of empirical analyses within a unified framework. And 5. It helps disciplines rethink and possibly expand how they approach certain issues. This process isn't easy. To be taken seriously, you must ground your work in the discipline's literature, use its language, and show how your interdisciplinary insight helps answer the kinds of questions that matter to that field. Done well, this can make your work more influential and spark lasting change within the disciplines themselves.